Hello and welcome to your final update of this 2014 season. We're bringing you the action from the school's knockout tournament. It was a fantastic tournament, went right down to the wire, superb excitement. The league season led up to this and we knew that the knockouts were going to be something special, and indeed it was. We didn't get the fancied teams in the finals. We got some surprises as well in the semi-finals and the finals. So let's look at those right now. In this first semi-final we had Science College, who managed to do a giant killing performance on St. Peter's, who advanced into the final against Isipatana. It was always going to be a difficult game for the Science College boys, but when they went into half-time leading by 10 points at 17 points to 7, they would have given themselves a little bit of hope. But it was Isipatana that came back and scored 32 points in that second half. Is an outstanding performance in the second half as well. 39 points to 17 is how that game finished. Science College just don't have the goods to finish off games. They don't have the sort of quality right through their side. They've got some amazing players, but they're still hit with quite a bit of injury, and their set pieces aren't good enough to really take it to sides like Isipatana and top quality sides with good conditioning as well and good set pieces. So as a result of that, they sometimes come up with some brilliant individual tries, as they did, to go up 10 points in that game, but somehow they don't have the ability to take it through and finish those games off. So Isipatana winning easily in the end by 39 points to 17, but showing that they could come back from a deficit as well, which was very good for them when it came to the final. We'll talk about that in a moment. In the other semi-final, we had the third leg of the Rugby, if you like to call it that way, but it was an outstanding performance by Royal to come through and beat arch rivals Trinity, the fancied team Trinity, coming into the semi-final. But as Dinuk mentioned on commentary in that game, maybe 400 kilometers of traveling in just a few days was just a little bit too much, because they didn't have the gas when they needed it. They didn't have the gas, and they didn't have their two biggest men on the park when they needed them as well. Trinity had themselves to blame for conceding one red card and one yellow card, which meant that they were down to 13 men in the last 10 minutes of the game when Royal College came through and actually scored the goal that won that match for them. It was 23 points to 29. Tarinder Atwat had kicked a 50-meter goal to put his team 6 points ahead, and he thought that was enough because they needed to score a converted try, Royal, and they did exactly that. Nimsham Jayawardena with a fantastic run, leading the team from the back and from the front, if you can use those terms, because he is the fullback but plays an outstanding attacking game, attacking from the restart, and that was the way that Royal managed to make inroads into the opposition 22. And Royal, if they ever get a line out inside the defensive 22, then things are going to look really difficult for the opposition. They used that rolling ball to outstanding effect. They managed to milk penalties from referee Priyantha Gunaratna inside the 22. They managed to really put the defense of Trinity under pressure, and that's when Trinity cracked and they allowed that try to go over after a few quick short taps were taken by the Royal team. So they scored off their rolling maul. Also they scored by doubling up and really attacking those Trinity fringes, and with Sanka Athulgama and the leadership of Basu Tilakaratna in the forwards also going out the window with those yellow cards, Trinity were left with it all to do. They started well, and I thought Trinity actually played the better rugby for most of that game, but you have to play the better rugby for 80 minutes and not 79.5 minutes, as Tarinder Atwata's team found out that day. Tari had an outstanding game, but what happened in the final play of the game was that he thought it was the final play. He kicked it out from inside his 22 when the ball was carried back, and it came back to a line-out, an attacking line-out for Royal inside the 22. And that's when things went horribly wrong for the Trinity. And so it really was a superb performance by this Royal team, showing a lot of guts and showing that they had the quality to come back, and the grit and determination also to come back in the last play of the game and win that by 30 points to 29. Would it be enough? Did they have another big game in them when they came to the final against Isipatana? Sadly for Royal fans, the answer was no, but far more happily for the Isipatana fans, they were able to retain their unbeaten tag. Last year we had Dharmaraja, who came into the final with an unbeaten tag right up to that point, and Wesley broke it for them. So Isipatana would have been thinking, oh dear, let's hope that doesn't happen to us today. And it came pretty close, I'll tell you that much, because Royal really took the game to them. The lead changing hands at least 4 times in the last 15 minutes of that game, and it was quite heartbreaking indeed to see knock-ons on both sides when the game could have been equalized. We had Omalka Gunaratna, who scored 2 tries, almost had his hat-trick, carried the ball over the line and then dropped it in a very uncharacteristic knock-on. Sudham Suryarachi also knocking on in the face of one defender to beat for the Royal try line. And then we had Umesh Madhushan and Iddavala, who both knocked on for Royal in the dying moments of that game as well. So it was a real heart-stopping affair, but it ended up by the win was 27 points to 22. Royal were leading 22-20, and that's when the try was scored by Isipathana to put the game beyond any doubt, and they defended and defended and defended really stoutly because they were only one score away, Royal, and they'd done the giant-killing performance on Trinity just a week before that. Isipathana knew that, but they managed to let their defence hold. And it was a makeshift defense as well, because they had Subasinghe, who came in to the game in place of Rankotke. He moved to fly half, and I think Ayandra Subasinghe, the young player, made a huge difference to Isipathana on the day, injecting some pace in the middle of the park where they lacked it. And even when Gallage was sent to the sin bin, their defense held strong, and they even scored a try in those moments. So that's where Isipathana really won the game, showing that they had the ability not only to win from a big lead in front, but also to hold on to a small lead and come back from behind to score tries as well. So a complete performance by Isipathana in this game, and a complete performance by them over the course of the season as well. They've had outstanding forwards, a superb front row, great line-out jumping as well from Captain Shanal Silva and Pereira. Really mobile and strong ball-carrying back row as well, with Omarka Gunaratna being the star. Sudham Suryarachi has been outstanding, as was Madhuranga when he replaced him at fly half. Kongahawatta has played his role really well, moving to fullback sometimes in the games as well, and their midfield combination has been really good too. Rankotke, since he moved inside to the inside centre position, outside centre position rather, had been really good. And then Gallage and Punchiheva with Rehan Silva at the back, they've proved to be an outstanding combination in all those places where you need those combinations to click. So congratulations to Isipathana, commiserations to Royal. They tried really hard, their forwards battled and battled right to the end, but in the end the Isipathana defence stood firm, and probably the two best packs of the season coming up against each other. So that's the way it ended, 27 points to 22 after a fantastic game of rugby between Isipathana and Royal. It was as close as the first game of the season, which was also the last game of the season. Isipathana met Royal for the first game of the league, and they ended the season as well. So a fitting finale, and we will hope to see much more of this action in next year's league. But before we go, to mention that this isn't the last you've seen of these players. It will be an outstanding extravaganza of rugby when we bring the Papare All-Star game to you, the Colombo Blues versus the Kandy Reds. Colombo Blues captained by the triple winning captain Shanal Silva, and of course that outstanding Trinity and Tarinder Atwat captaining the Kandy Reds. That's going to be an amazing encounter, that is for sure. When Kandy meets Colombo, that rivalry is going to smolder. It really is, at the Racecourse Grounds on the 26th of July, 4:15. Make sure you come down and enjoy those schoolboy stars all playing against each other, playing for places in club sides, playing for places maybe in Carlton sides, playing for places in the national side even. So it's going to be a no quarter asked or given game. You can follow that all and much more action on thepapare.com. Thanks for joining us.